I had once wandered this earth from land to land, always hoping that by you one day I'd stand. I had once wandered this earth from land to land, always hoping that by you one day I'd stand. I shed tears, flowing rivers. Now I'm here in Karbala. Now I'm here in Karbala. As I step onto your sand, you capture my eyes. I see heaven has been placed here beneath your skies. I feel the darkness of grief within me arise. I feel my heart heavy with my wails and cries. And finally opposite me your pure shrine lies. All my life I've lived, now I meet with my demise. I shed my tears wondering what I have been. I come to you dressed in all my lies and sin. I can't bear, oh forgive her. Now I'm here in Karbala. I stand beside your door and beside heaven's gate. My tears drip down my cheek, destiny I await. With my mind in love with your beauty, oh soulmate. O King of Kings, near your golden door I prostrate. With my forehead upon your dust, an oath I make, and I feel your love burn away my sins and hate. I feel my whole body fall in love with you, as if all I ever lived and knew was you. I lose fear in hellfire. Now I'm here in Karbala, with a broken heart upon your grave I fall. Like fire, my grief and your love swallows me whole. Every moment that I long for you I recall. Your severed body opposite me I condole. O grave that captures my heart and touches my soul, like the Kaaba around you I cry and circle. O Kaaba, in tears I circle your body. I circle my meaning and my destiny. you answer my desires. Now I'm here in Karbala. I stand under your dome and under your banner. I raise my hands asking from you my desires. I'm at your service now and in the hereafter. Your love burns me like wood is burned by fire. I'm at your service till my neck is severed. With you, shame will never live with me, never. Toward you, the Kaaba is but a servant. Mecca is earth, but Karbala is heaven. Toward you the Kaaba is but a servant. Mecca is earth, but Karbala is heaven. Your service like no other. Now I'm here in Karbala, crying upon you makes me blossom and grow. I've sold myself to living in your shadow. Upon my chest I've written marks of sorrow, and my head I strike with a sword till blood flows. Were the day I was to be judged by tomorrow, to my Lord my service toward you I'll show. My name on your guest list written by angels. I hope that year after year I shall return. Please hold dear your visitor. Now I'm here in Karbala.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم من مصابنا سيدي ومولاي سيد الشهداء أبا عبد الله الحسين عليه السلام. Dearest viewers, we welcome you into another night where it's the post-majlis where we take things a little bit slower. We reflect on what we've heard in the lectures that maybe we've attended, especially for those of us in the West watching this in and around midnight. The lamentations that we've heard, and we try and continue and try and get into that reflection because we know our faith so greatly emphasizes the need for reflection. And these are days where we put a lot of energy into them, and sometimes just taking a moment out just to go, you know what did I pick up, can be quite powerful. And inshallah we'll be doing that through a few thought-provoking moments, recitations like the one you've just heard, and inshallah that will see us through the night. Mulla Ali, there was a line in there about comparing Karbala to Mecca.
Yeah.
Which initially sometimes make you a little bit nervous when you're like, oh, it's one of these comparison ones.
Yeah.
But the line's beautiful. Mecca is earth, but Karbala
is heaven.
How much do you miss it?
Quite a bit actually. Of course. There's always been, I mean, I had the intention of going to Arba'in last year. But unfortunately, I think Imam Hussein had better plans or didn't call me or something or the other. Something happened, I couldn't make it, but I have a stronger conviction to go this year.
Inshallah.
And Karbala has changed a lot since I've last seen it, and since I've heard and I've seen in the pictures as well. So there's been a lot of changes, even structurally as well. Which
Till
I'd
is going to be now rebuilt, I think.
yeah, so,
Yeah.
or maybe even close
Yeah.
to being built. So yeah, there's a lot that I'd love to experience in Karbala.
To be around.
Especially post-COVID. I'd love to see how people are
Yeah.
during the whole COVID situation. Because, we were hearing stories of Arba'in time and how actually, there's a lot of people saying, no, don't go
Yeah.
because of the whole current situation. But actually millions of people still turned up. And there was a report from the health ministry that mentioned there were
It was fine.
little cases. Actually, they wait for seasons because for some reason during the seasons the case is lower. I don't know how and I don't know why, but that's something
May
to
Allah
read
keep the
into.
Zawar safe, and we pray for also the locals to remain safe as well.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. But there is something about, and I think we said yesterday, we welcome kind of the month, we welcome the concepts of service. We said today we're going to focus a little bit on Karbala, maybe kind of this departure as well, perhaps.
Yeah.
But there's something about this like calibration, right? And I always find the first few nights is almost like you need to transition in a bit. You're not just going to kind of reach the peak that you need to. There's a build up. And I think spiritually as well, we need to get rid of all the nonsense that maybe we've picked up along the way since maybe Shahr Ramadan. You'd hope Ghadir, Mubahila, recalibrations. But unfortunately, maybe it's Shahr Ramadan until now, And once we've dusted that all off and our hearts got that little bit softer again through the Masa'ib of Aba Abdullah, then as we head into the climax of the 10 days, then inshallah we're ready to embrace the purity of Ahlul Bayt yet again. And that calibration I think is tough because, and I say this because maybe there are some viewers who are kind of saying, okay, I've been to 2 majalis now, maybe even 3 depending or whatever. Maybe they're struggling to shed that first tear and they're like, oh, what's happening? Usually it's just like, be patient. Just think, what is it I need to let go of? What are the things that are maybe the baggage I've brought with me into this 10 days? I don't know, does that resonate? Do you find that you need to calibrate?
I was thinking about what we were saying yesterday in terms of, why is it that even though people are during the 10 nights, they'll be religious or carry on with the traditions, but then straight after that, just things go back to normal. And then they think, well, Muharram came and went and I'm still the same as I was before.
Yeah.
And then the Muharram, as you mentioned, for example, this time last year, you know exactly where you were, exactly what you were doing, who you were with, but nothing has changed since last year.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the only thing that it comes down to is you as a person and making that choice
to change.
To change.
Yeah.
That's not going to come. Imam Hussein is there if you go towards him, and going towards him is that change. So that calibration you're talking about is you actually making that choice to say, I am going to today, for example, salah, for example, family, for example, whatever it may be, right? But not only that, it could be, look, there are certain things in my life that I need to fix, or certain things in my life that I need to keep on top of. It could be as an adult, house situations, bills, whatever, just developing yourself, how to generate more income for your family so that you can be. There's a lot of things that you could do, but it's you making that choice. And Imam Hussein is that conveyor belt to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are the wasila on this earth.
Absolutely.
And the perfect time is during those 10 days. Yes, first day, second day, you might not feel it. Third, fourth, once the personalities are then mentioned, such as
you resonate with those, for example.
Absolutely. Fadhil Abbas alayhi salam. Once those personalities are commemorated, then the connection starts to happen, and then the choice that you want to make, I feel like it's a bit like, let's take a step back from the work life and everything that goes on, the noise that we hear every single day. Just take a step back in these majalis where you've got time. It's just you and the lecturer. It's just you and that lecturer. Most of the time you're focusing on his words, but let's be honest, sometimes you do zone out every now and then.
Natural.
When you're zoning out, let's use that time. It's just you alone. It's just you and the lecturer. You're in the majlis. Fatima Zahra is probably watching as well.
Inshallah.
And so use that time to make those decisions.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm going to do this, or tomorrow I'm going to do that, or the day after, or whatever it is, or even today I'm going to start from doing this. And that's the time where you can hopefully recalibrate.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think in that recalibration comes deciding between what's right and what's wrong, which that audit of ourselves is tough, right?
Yes.
It's really, really tough. And I was saying earlier in the lecture, I was like, so many of us would be like, when was the last time I audited myself? Maybe Qadr if I was on form during Shahr Ramadan. Maybe, right? Maybe even I let all 3 nights or more go past because it was COVID, it was remote, and I wasn't in the you know, in the masjid and whatever. So, but let's say you're on form in Qadr, you had a good self-audit. When was the last time you audited someone else? Probably 5 times today. I've judged him, her, probably judged them 3 times over, right? And it's this question of what does it take for us in order to do a self-audit, in order to recognize right from wrong. And again, just on that theme of Ziyarat Ashura, there is a very common theme that we see throughout it and through Muharram and Fatimiyya, which is this concept of Tabarra and Tawala, right? Or Tawala and Tabarra. Which I will provoke a little bit here and say, have we used it more so as a football fan type slogan? I'm just going to jeer at them, I'm just going to abuse the away fans, I'm going to abuse these individuals or whatever. Am I just shouting and it's really meaningless? Or am I using Tawalla and Tabarra as a genuine vehicle to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And I'm going to share a hadith which is attributed to our Holy Fifth Imam, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, which I think would surprise people perhaps, that so much weight is placed on Tawalla and Tabarra. And then I'd like to us maybe just to briefly go into why is so much weight attributed to it. So he's reported to say, yes, whosoever likes to have no veil between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, man sarrahu an la yakunu baynahu wa bayna Allah hijabun, such that he looks at Allah and Allah looks at him, must express love for the progeny of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, and express his detachment from their enemies and follow an imam from among them. For indeed, if this happens, Allah will look at him and he will look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we say, oh Allah, we ask you to, remove your mercy from so and so and whatever, is that really going to help us look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make sure Allah looks at us favorably? Maybe we'll say, yeah, emotionally, I've sided with Imam Hussein, I've really gone on his side, I'll never stand for what Shimr and Ibn Ziyad and whatever did. Okay, but what drove Shimr to do what he did? What drove Ibn Ziyad to do what he did? If you take Shimr, for example, you can imagine like there's a list of the rewards, the materialistic rewards that one would get for which head they would take. And no doubt Abu Abdullah Hussein's head would probably be on the top of that list, right? So what drives him to say, I'm going to be the one to commit that deed? And remember, when we read the Maqtal, we see this notion that Imam Hussein is there and they're saying, finish him, come on, hurry up, finish.
Yeah.
No one's doing it.
Yeah.
Even at that point, despite what they've done, some of these guys are listening to something within that's going,
I can't do
that
this.
one's a bit too much.
Yeah.
So what is it that makes Shimr jump up and go, I'm the one to do this? Greed, fame, money, materialistic desires, wants to impress those around him, wants to be the man of the moment, pride, arrogance.
I think I know where you're going, but yeah.
So we do this Tawalla and Tabarra, Shimr is this, Shimr is that, la'an. Okay, fine, we need to identify haqq and batil. But what if the batil is within me?
Yeah.
Not saying what if the Shimr is within me, but what if that the values that, or lack of values, the traits that he had are actually within me?
Yeah, good point.
Should I be doing bara'ah from myself? Because then I'm stuck.
Yeah. So you're saying that the concept is not personality, it's rather the value. So I'm removing myself from that person's traits, and I want to remove myself from that particular.
It's exactly this, right? And when the scholars tell us that, it's your name is your name, right? A human is their actions, is a human's thoughts, is a human's intentions, is what they stand for, it's their values, right? Shimr is just a name. What's behind Shimr is a set of actions, right? Those who push the door, power, greed, I want to get second in line, or I want to be first in line. I don't want this guy to be the first guy to succeed the Prophet.
Power, yeah.
Have I got that arrogance in me? Have I got that hunger for power in me? Am I thirsty for it? Because if so, we say that I turn to you, Allah, I seek recourse to you whilst disassociating myself from them. But if I'm disassociating myself from those values rather than that individual, I should be disassociating from myself. And I don't think it's a part of Ziyarat Ashura that I think many of us reflect on. I think we get naturally very emotional, and we should get emotional because it helps us clarify haqq and batil. But at the same time, as I said, if we're not going to audit ourselves, but we're happy to audit every single person around us, we're in a tough place. And I think this is part of this calibration that I'm talking about, right? And it's, as we enter these 10 days, inshallah, you'll have a moment where your heart, completely flows, etc., etc. But to get there, we need to audit, my dear brothers and sisters. We need to think, reflect, and go, what baggage am I bringing in with me? What am I carrying with me? Are there any traits of those who were the very killers of Aba Abdullah that I'm bringing with me? And when we talk about this, I'll share one other part, which is that after we say this line in Ziyarat Ashura, we then qualify for how long this will be. And we say it's until the end of time. It's perpetual. And we spoke about this as well, that this entire ziyarah, it's in the form of Jumla Ismiya. It's perpetual, it's forever, it's never ending. This is a pledge that we make forevermore. So just a small nugget to share with you. As we mentioned, these sessions are for us to reflect, but also to engage with the words of poetry. And last night and thus far we've had Mulla Ali, and inshallah he'll be with us for the full 10 days together, both of us. And we'll also have some guests joining us, and I'm really, really honoured to say that we have my dear brother Sayyid Ali Al-Hakim as well joining us. He's joined us from Manchester, he's currently reading in East London. Sayyid Ali, we leave it to you to take us away with a recitation that you've prepared for us.
The hour has arrived, left to never return. Last breaths in Medina. By God, my stance is firm. I have gathered my kin. Seeing them, my heart burns. Seeing my destiny, I see Zainab concern. Karbala, 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 Karbala. The hour has arrived, left to never return. Last breaths in Medina. By God, my stance is firm. I have gathered my kin. Seeing them, my heart burns. Seeing my destiny, I see Zainab concern. Karbala, 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 Karbala. It's the final farewell. If you want to follow me, a trail of blood you'll see. It will guide you to me. Death is sweeter than life, which is under tyranny. I am here to reform this nation of the Nabi. Karbala, 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 Karbala. Ah, grandfather, you will miss me. Soon we'll be united. I will yearn for your send to guide. I'm invited, but I will be betrayed. Your women will be frightened. No one will protect them. They won't see me silence. Karbala, 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 Karbala. So close and yet so far, the land which embraced you became hostile to me. My men 72 against the cruel world, they've come to my rescue. The world will see today what we already knew. Karbala, 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 Karbala. Shia of the future, don't let these small numbers stop you in doing right. For in truth there's honor, and disgraced is falsehood. Righteous live forever, tyrants always despair. Today rules the martyr. Karbala, 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 Karbala. Salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أحسن سيدنا أحسنتم. If you keep your words open, that last verse, you mentioned something about truth is worth standing up for, falsehood. Just that last
And
stanza.
disgraced is falsehood. Righteous live forever. Tyrants always despair. Today rules the martyr.
And something about even if you're few in number.
Shia of the future, don't let this small number stop you in doing right. For in truth there is honor.
For in truth there is honor. There's some, and again, this is very similar to what we're discussing, right? That when we do this audit of our soul, we find ourselves when we side with haqq being very alone, right?
Exactly.
And then the classic example of someone starts listening to music in a car that you're in, you're like, oh, should I say something, should I not? Should I say something, should I not, right? Or someone is about to start speaking about someone, you're like, oh, should I say something, salat time, oh, should I? And it's difficult,
That
right?
is, yeah.
You feel your, something inside you, perhaps your soul, going, should I say it, should I not? Should I say it, should I not? If I say it, they're going to think I'm weird. They're going to think I'm the party pooper. They're going to think whatever. Because the majority, few in number, the majority side with batil, the few side with haqq. And when we look at every single one of those in Karbala, and Hur is the obvious example that we always go to, who made that final choice, they chose few in number. They chose haqq, few in number. And no doubt when you're faced with swords and definite death, your soul's probably going a bit quicker between, do I really fancy that? And there's this hadith, and sorry, I know I'm talking a little bit here, but it's just because of that line, I'm coming to a different part of this. There's a hadith from Amir al-Mu'mineen that I think really captures maybe what we feel when we're making that decision, right? Between haqq and batil. And this is incredible. He describes this moment as a battle. That very moment where you know, I could stand up for it or I stay quiet. And you're having that unsure moment. He describes it as a battle in the following way. He's reported to say, the intellect is the commander of the army of the All-Merciful. So on haqq, your intellect is the commander of the army of the All-Merciful, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's army. And mundane desire is the leader of the army of shaitan. So you've got the intellect playing against mundane desire, the All-Merciful against shaitan. And the soul is undergoing an attraction of both, between both, and enters the domain of whichever one triumphs. And I think it's such an amazing illustration. Just call it this army, this war, and you're like stuck between.
Yes, an
which side
eye-opener.
wins?
Eye-opener.
And I think it comes back to this point that when we're carrying this baggage into the first few nights, side with the few. It's okay to side with the few. That's the lesson we're taught, right? Why forget it?
Yeah.
You know?
It's awkward because, in day-to-day practicality, we're not really in a war physically, literally at the moment. But it's like in work, for example, if they're going to push you on sales, there's a moral borderline where maybe this person doesn't really need them. And then you go around and try and figure out a way to sell them the product. But you know that they don't really need it. And then you go over that moral line. And then sometimes it actually becomes lying. And then that's really...
And that's a tough line.
It's a modern day practice.
Line,
yeah,
right?
It's very difficult. But no, that's what I'm saying from Imam Ali alayhi salam. It really puts things into perspective.
And I think for Ali and I it's different because when we sell, it's not like health products like eyewear. You could still make a claim it's legitimate. We're struggling.
There's no way around
But
it.
Sayyid Ali, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
No, it's an honor to be in both your presence.
No, astaghfirullah, it's good to have you. I think one thing I'd love to ask you. You've obviously spent 2 nights now in London, alhamdulillah. Do you see a different vibe in the London majalis versus the Manchester scene?
Yeah, well, obviously the accent's different. The crowd, I think, is just dependent on which mosque you go to, because our crowd is mainly from Pakistan, so you have their culture there, and we have a very heavy Pakistani culture in Manchester. So it's not too different from that aspect, but we're reciting English latmiyat in a Pakistani martyrdom format, which I think they're quite new to. They've heard English before, but it's more of the Iranian style. So from my aspect of things, it's a teaching kind of methodology for the youth. First day didn't really go as well as we hoped.
Sure.
Today, alhamdulillah, if you recall, yesterday was 20%, today was like 80%. They made 2 lines, they recited. So it's a learning thing for me as well. I realized that the choruses, you shouldn't make them too long for them.
Yeah.
Keep it short and simple because it's new to them. You have to introduce it slowly. So, but it's been amazing. I love London, and I love coming with Imam Hussein TV programs. MashaAllah, may Allah reward them. And Mulla Ali, his father is inshallah keeping well the Sheikh. Allah yahfadha inshallah.
So I was going to ask if you don't mind.
Please go.
There's a fantastic project that you're working on, or you've worked on actually. It's been published, the graphics and the animation.
Walking to Karbala.
Yeah, talk us through that process. What was it?
Well, thank you for your kind words. You're too kind. We thought it was basically my wife and my sister. They said to me, well, actually, the first thing actually started with Sadiq. He showed me about Dar's animation, which he did. I've seen Basim Karbala's one, and I thought that's going to be very difficult. I saw about Dar's, and it was a bit more simpler.
Right.
So Sadiq was like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if we did that? So I always like to challenge Sadiq and try and actually do what he has in mind.
Okay. Obviously, I just step away and don't do anything. So I just come up with the idea.
Yeah,
and
then
so Ali's the guy
without the idea, there's nothing going to happen though. So the idea was that financially it was a lot. Because it's 3D animation, and in Britain it's more expensive. We got this Iranian company to do it. But there was a point where I just left it, and then my wife and my sister, they said to me, let's just do it. Just do it, we'll figure it out. And then I'm like, okay, but the cost, they said, no, it was fine, we'll figure it out. Within 2 days, we had the full amount of the money. So that was my main worry, let's call it. It's a long process to communicate with people who have a different language, because theirs is Farsi, and I had to get a translator to translate for me. And sometimes the translator's busy because he's working on other projects.
Did it come out how you wanted it though, from how you envisioned it?
Yeah, because well, initially it didn't, because they gave me the first draft.
Yeah.
So I kept on pushing them, and then they still sometimes it was you have to really explain what you want because they need to visualize it. And there was a bit of a compromise. You have to compromise. You're never going to get exactly what you want it. But that theme was to try and show a child how amazing it would be if you go to Arba'in. Because once you go Arba'in, as show Mulla and Hajj can tell us that Arba'in is really spiritual. I've only been twice. When I was younger, even when I was 20s, my mum doesn't let me go to Iraq, but she really worries for me.
Yeah.
So as soon as I got married, I'm like, yes. So I'll go to Karbala. It's spiritual. And I want all the kids to try it when they're young, because once Imam Hussein gets you, that's it, you're finished. You won't let go.
Said we have literally just 1 or 2 minutes left, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you recite us one verse and the chorus from Walking to Karbala?
Yeah.
Oh, right, I had a different one.
I know you had a different one. So
you know what,
can I put you on the spot for it?
It's embarrassing because I've not memorized it.
Walking to Karbala.
Well, there we go.
From Najaf to Karbala, I'll give my life and soul.
That really is in a spot, Sada.
To Karbala.
Let's go, brother, to the land of Aba Abdullah. Go and pack your bags, let's reach the land of Karbala. Then I forgot the rest.
We cannot be
late, we must go and catch our flight.
To be under the dome
of Karbala's great. Listen, why are you asking me to recite it? It seems like you've memorized. Arba'in, let's go do the Arba'in. This is Arba'in. Let's go do the Arba'in of our Imam Hussein. Let's go do the Arba'in. Walking to Karbala, from Najaf to Karbala. Walking to Karbala, from Najaf to Karbala. I'll give my life and soul just to get to Karbala.
Inshallah. Ahsantum. And Mulla Ali mentioned earlier he wants to go this year, so inshallah you're able to.
Inshallah.
I think the only reason why we know is because now we have a little one, we're playing it all the time. Inshallah. Sayyid Ali, thank you so much for joining us. Inshallah, we'll see you again. Mulla Ali, thank you as ever. And dear viewers, just to finish on this note, inshallah, as these nights come in, you are able to calibrate your soul towards haqq, away from batil, towards the Husseini traits, which are, of course, the manifestations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a tough journey. It is meant to be tricky. It's designed to be such. But with the intercession of Aba Abdullah, you'll make the right choice, and inshallah, you'll journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We will, inshallah, play Sayyid Ali's clip just shortly. But for now, we'll head towards our dear brothers in Karbala so you can pay your respects to Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.